Welcome to Satsang.
Hello, Vishrant. Can you please talk about the topic, how anger keeps you from love?
Okay. So anger does not create bridges, it burns them. If we want to destroy relationships with people, the fastest way to do it is to bring anger into the picture. It's not like things aren't going to go wrong. It's not like you're going to agree with everything that's happening. That's not how the world is. But once we get angry, we have an opportunity to either support that anger or not. And so quite often anger just comes from the nothing. Something gets touched and a person reacts. That's all very well. But how fast can you stop it? Because if you are with other human beings, it just doesn't work. It's a form of violence, and people react to it negatively. So how fast can you stop it? And then the question arises, well, how do you stop it? And it's simple. Stop the blame. Because without blame, anger has no fuel. It is fueled by our victim-orientated thinking. You have a look at it and see, and you'll see it. But when we bring anger into our relationships, we are destroying our relationships. It's really worth having a look at, and it's worth stopping. Now, I'm not talking about repressing here. I'm not talking about pushing it down. I'm talking about stopping it. Without blame, anger has no fuel. You remove the blame, anger dies. What makes relationships with everybody work is communication and commitment. But if we're communicating with anger, we're communicating with violence. And that just doesn't work. People do not respond well to violence. They do respond reasonably well with conversation that is rational. Once we move into anger, we're in a dream anyway, where we're blaming the other, and we're kind of half lost anyway in the dream, and so we've lost some level of rationale as well. Catch yourself angry, don't repress it, just stop it. Remove the blame. It'll change your life. If you're a person who expresses a lot of anger, you will have destroyed a lot of your relationships already. You may not even be aware of how many. People don't tend to want to tell angry people they don't want to spend time with them. They just don't spend time with them anymore because they're likely to get more anger, and they know it. Once again, it's not about repressing. It's about stopping. Become conscious that you're angry and remove the blame. Ultimately, accepting other people how they are is the way. Accepting situations as they are is the way. Because if we're angry, we're in non-acceptance. We're actually in massive resistance to what is. And of course, that in itself creates suffering for us. Any form of resistance is suffering. And anger is massive resistance, massive amount of suffering. And you're doing it to yourself. Nobody's doing it to you. It's up to you. You're the one that can support anger, or you're the one that cannot. Are there any questions, any statements, any challenges to this teaching today?
The first question is as follows. Is it possible for a human being to never get angry at anything?
I don't know if that's possible. It hasn't been my experience. I was a very angry young man when I was a teenager as a result of what I perceived to be injustices that had occurred in my life. It wasn't until I was 19 and discovered that being a victim of anything is actually a choice that I could see that I was creating my anger through my victim-orientated thinking. I could see that I didn't have to create it and that I could stop it. And that changed my whole life because I stopped being a victim of life. I stopped being a victim of people. Doesn't mean I didn't fail. I failed heaps, but I stopped at heaps until it stopped coming. Something touches, there's a touch. The reaction to victim-orientated thinking, blaming someone else, doesn't happen. After all, I do make myself feel. Nobody can make me feel but me. And so you do something or you say something that is annoying or aggravating, that's what you're doing, but I'm making me feel. I'm responsible for my reaction, not you.
The next question is as follows. I've met some spiritual teachers who told me that they might get angry sometimes, but it didn't matter because the mind gets angry and that they are not the mind.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty big cop-out, isn't it? Not taking responsibility for what your mind's doing when you're the one in charge of it. That sounds like a real good cop-out. Look, whether you're awake or you're not awake, you're still responsible for what the body does because your mind is in charge of it. If you're getting angry at people and projecting, well, basically violence at them, you're responsible for that. And you're lost in dream when that happens. Because if you weren't dreaming, it wouldn't be happening. So as far as your awakening is concerned, I would doubt that too. I would doubt that it was that solid. I'd say that when you get angry, you basically come back to ego-based reality, to dream-based reality. Otherwise, you wouldn't be getting angry.
Next, we have a question from Abhay.
Hello, Abhay.
Hi, Vishrant. Vishrant, when I catch myself getting angry and I drop it, I start feeling helpless. Is that how it feels, or I am now going to tolerating?
So anger empowers us. Something touches us, we feel a wound, we feel something, we might feel helpless inside that, we may feel hopelessness inside of that, particularly if it touches low self-worth. And so we've got those feelings there. And so we get angry and it empowers us and we feel much better because we're not feeling those terrible, helpless, hopeless feelings. But what we're doing is inflicting violence on someone or something or on ourselves. And so you have a look. If you start to heal the wounds of your heart, the things that used to touch you don't touch you anymore. But you've got to start healing the wounds of your heart by allowing yourself to feel them instead of reacting, particularly with a defense system like anger, which takes you away from your wounding, stops you from healing it, and in fact probably creates more because it's victim-orientated thinking. Have a look and see, watch your own mind and see the process, see how it all works. It's in witnessing our mind that our consciousness levels rise. And if you witness the process of anger, you'll see how it all works. It's a defensive device. It stops us from feeling something. It empowers us. But at what cost? Because it destroys relationships. It makes us suffer. It makes others suffer. It's poor communication.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Thank you.
Don't get into blaming yourself. Just have a look at the process, and when you find yourself in anger, stop it. Remove the blame. Don't support it. And you will fail, but if you keep practicing, you will succeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vishrant. I will practice this.
Thank you, Abhay.
Thank you.
The next question is from Marcus.
Hello, Marcus.
Hey, Vishrant. So I wanted to ask you about how you used hypnosis as a way to heal wounds of your heart. Like, for example, inner child meditations. And I wanted to know how, if you could say the instructions on how to do that, like either alone or with a partner.
Yeah. Okay, it's a difficult one because usually if you want to do it properly, you need someone who's trained in it, because they're going to take you into places inside yourself that could be quite painful. And unless you've got someone who's trained, it could get messy. Once you've learned how to do it, you can do it for yourself. The inner child work, it's not a meditation, it's work. Basically, you're going back to some stage inside yourself where you got traumatized. Maybe as just going to school and being bullied by kids, something like that. And so you go back as an adult through hypnosis back to that time, and you support that child. You tell that child that you're there to be with them now, and they never need to feel alone again, and that you're there to protect them. And what you're doing is you're reassuring a part of your subconscious that's been traumatized. And it actually works. It's very powerful. And it is a form of hypnosis. And the best way to do it is with someone who knows how to do it, rather than just have a shot at it by yourself or with someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Because it can get pretty messy once you start opening up trauma inside yourself.
I see. Could your next book be how to hypnotize yourself?
Hypnotizing yourself is easy enough, but doing the inner child work's another story. You really need to know what you're doing. We used to run inner child workshops years and years ago, helping people start to heal the wounds of their heart through going back using hypnosis. Haven't done it for a while now, but it's a very powerful methodology. It just needs to be handled with a certain level of expertise, so more damage doesn't get done.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have a question from Neil.
Hello.
Hello, Vishrant. So
Neil?
Yep.
Hello, Neil.
Hello, Vish. So I want to share a situation. In my workplace, I've got this coworker, and during lunch break, I have to sit with him for lunch. We all sit together, all the employees, and this person makes a lot of noise while eating the food, while chewing, and that makes me really angry. And I can't even say anything to him because that would be kind of rude. So I have my lunch in a very angry mood, and I try to repress it, not to show it out. So is it normal to get angry in such situations?
I don't know whether it's normal or not, but I mean, getting aggravated by the eating sounds of someone isn't that uncommon. It's quite common. Have you tried putting headphones on and listening to something else?
No, I did try focusing on my breath, but that even doesn't work. Or just focusing on the taste of the food, but it's not
Yeah,
working.
I didn't say that. I asked you a direct question. Did you try putting
No,
headphones on?
no, I haven't.
So you can get the little ones that just fit inside your ears, and you can be listening to maybe a talk by Vishrant.
All right.
Rather than listening to this person eat that's annoying you. Because it doesn't sound like you can remove yourself from the situation. I mean, ultimately, the answer is acceptance. But in the meantime, what's the point in putting yourself in a position where you're getting constantly annoyed? Why not do something about it in the meantime? But get some headphones or some ear amplifiers and listen to some music or listen to something else rather than listening to someone eat that's annoying you. It's a bit like the old story of the person who's hitting their thumb with a hammer who starts complaining about their thumb being sore. Stop hitting your thumb with the hammer, mate. Do something about it.
Right. And I also didn't want to hurt that person, so that's why I never said something to him.
Oh, there's no need to hurt them, but you can always listen to a lecture if you like, or a Satsang, and if they ask you what you're doing, you say, well, I'm just studying my master or something like that. You know, it's like you don't need to hurt anyone's feelings. But if you have an annoyance to the sound that people make when they eat, if they're really noisy, do something about it. You move away or put some headphones on, listen to something else.
Right. Right. And about having a master, you always talk about having a master, but when I did some research on Osho, I came to know that he never had a master.
There's no such thing, in fact. There's no such thing as a seeker either, because ultimately we're all beingness. It's just a game that we play where we set someone up as a guru who knows who they are, and the people who don't know who they are come along and they get shown how to find who they are. And that relationship is called a master-disciple relationship. But ultimately it's a game. Once you wake up, if you've been a disciple, you know there was never a master and there was never a disciple. It was all just a game. A fancy dress game.
Right.
We are one.
Right.
But it's not a bad game. I played that game. I loved it. I played it with Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. He was my master and I was his disciple. And I loved it. It was a great game.
Right. And you've also talked about accepting the fact that people will lie, cheat, deceive, and it's a part of human nature. But if we are constantly aware of this truth, wouldn't our guard be up all the time?
If we're in acceptance that that's how it is, it's not a problem. It's only when we're not in acceptance of how it is that it's a problem. In acceptance of life as it is, the mind can be very peaceful. If we're kind of in non-acceptance, the mind's on guard, it's uptight, we're experiencing a level of anxiety somewhere. This is not peaceful. Find a way to accept life as it is. And whatever works for you is worthy. It's up to you though. You're the only one that can do the accepting.
Right. All right. Thank you, Vishrant.
Thank you, Neil.
Next, we have a question from Susha.
Hello, Susha.
Hello, Vishrant. So, what can a seeker do to heal the wounds of their heart?
Well, if you are wounded, you're going to get touched by life, particularly if you're in life. If you have a family and you have a job and you're interacting with other people, your wounds are going to get touched regularly. And instead of trying to avoid them and be comfortable, you could try warmly welcoming the wound and allow it to be there. And in this warm welcoming, you start to heal it. If all you do is spend your life trying to avoid being touched, avoid feeling, trying to be comfortable, you miss out. You miss out on higher consciousness. You miss out on healing the wounds of your heart. You probably miss out on an awful lot of communication with some people because you're too frightened to actually have too much to do with them. Healing the wounds of your heart is great, but it does demand that you feel it. You allow whatever appears to be held in tender okayness. That works. And because you're in the marketplace, you're going to get lots of opportunity. The people close to you are going to give you lots of opportunity to heal the wounds of your heart when they get triggered. Up to you.
So if something gets triggered and it's let go pretty quickly, has some healing happened?
Not necessarily. You may be using let go as an escape methodology rather than allowing yourself to feel what's being touched.
So how will I know that it's actually healed?
Well, when the same trigger happens and nothing gets touched, you know there's nothing left. It's been healed.
But when I find the space, nothing touches.
That's true. Can you stay there though?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. You can't stay there because awareness keeps going back to the mind, keeps going back to the ego because it keeps contracting against life. As long as the mind's trying to do something to get away from, it's disturbed.
Okay.
A mind that is an unconditional surrender supports enlightenment, not a mind that is scrambling to not feel things. That sort of mind is going to attract awareness to itself. It's important that you heal the wounds of your heart if you want to become enlightened. It's important that you develop a mind that will stay equanimous.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is from Puneet.
Hello, Puneet.
Hi, Vishrant. I was wondering if there is a discourse or a book by Osho that you'll recommend I should read.
I haven't listened to Osho for about 22 years, or maybe more now. When awakening occurred, I stopped listening to everybody. I couldn't be bothered anymore. If your awareness is aware of itself, there's no interest in collecting more knowledge. And so I listened to Osho for a lot of years until I was 45 actually, and I started at 28 and I loved listening to him. But recommending something that he would have said in some discourse, I'm way past that. It's too long ago. He died in 1990. His stuff's still very relevant though. He was a man out of his time, a timeless man. Very beautiful.
I get tired of doing self-inquiry. I just exhaust myself. So I find solace in like listening to him or like this satsang that I attend with you. So I was just wondering if there is some material that is just gonna keep me occupied, because I tried walking meditation too that you recommended, but
Look, to listen to Osho for hours because in the voice there's a transmission of the Buddha field. And I used to find that just listening to him, no matter what he was talking about, my mind would start to deeply relax. And I just loved that. So it didn't really matter to me what subject he was talking on. I just loved listening to him because of that transmission that was coming through that allowed my mind to just let go, let go, let go.
Sounds good.
It is good. I must admit, I was very addicted though. I loved listening to Osho. He was my spiritual father and my master, and I loved him so much. I loved his voice.
Same here. I feel the same.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have a question written by Peter. Hi Vishrant. I find that when I get angry, I can catch it, let it go, and make amends. Fear and anxiety that arises within me seems more harder to drop. Please comment.
The way to stop anger is to challenge the belief systems that support it. I mean, we can let go of it once we catch it, but to stop it coming again, we need to have undone whatever belief systems were supporting it. So, for instance, like someone might betray us, and we have a belief system that they shouldn't betray us. Well, the next time they betray us, unless we've undone that belief system, we're likely to get triggered again because nothing's changed. And so we just have to let it go again. And so the process I went through was a process of taking apart all the belief systems that created any form of contraction in me, because I just wasn't interested in going into resistance to life. And so I saw that as an undoing process and undoing the mind. And so someone would do something that used to annoy me, and because I'd undone the belief system, it's just what is. There was an acceptance of what is. That's the work. That's the work to produce a mind that will remain equanimous even when things aren't going well. You have to undo it.
The next question is from Kalimba.
Hi, Kalimba.
Hi, Vishrant. I've been noticing with anger because there's a lot of things going around town that are not really nice. And the other day I came out of the Followers Inn, which is a church cafe that I go to, and they were cutting down these beautiful trees across the road, and they were the sort of noise and everything. And I started to get angry, but when I let the anger go, I just started crying. And you can hear by the way I'm talking now that that's been happening for me. Now, is it? Well, no, it's not. Is it? I found often if I get really angry about something, then I sort of accept that I'm getting angry and let it go. The next thing I just get is sadness.
Yeah. But Kalimba, there's a good chance that that was what was underneath the whole time. The sadness, the grief for the trees being cut down, and then anger arose, which takes you away from the sadness temporarily because it empowers you. But then when you actually let go, you're back to the sadness. That was there in the first place. The tragedy of having the trees have their lives taken away in front of you.
Yeah, it's really funny because I notice that when the anger is kind of an avoidance of the sadness.
Yes.
So we feel better when we get angry, but then when we let go of the anger, the pain comes to the surface. And
Yeah.
actually, I don't mind crying. I find it very healing to get
Yep.
upset. I don't find it disempowering at all. In fact, almost the reverse.
Yep. Yeah, I think that anger is mostly a defense system. It stops us from feeling things that hurt. And I think that's exactly what's happening to you. At a very quick level, something gets touched, there's grief, and then you move to anger, which is really fast, and it stops you from feeling the grief. But then when you relax again, there it is.
And the silly thing is, I just got this idea came in now. If somebody is doing something that is really inappropriate and you get angry, they get defensive. If you sort of say, and you actually start crying, they're much more likely to look at what they're doing and say, oh, God, that can't be really nice what I'm doing. So in fact, sadness is actually sounds like it's more effective in getting change than anger.
That may very well be true, because you can get people's sympathy rather than them feeling that they're being violated with anger.
Yeah.
Very, very true. The only thing is, how much control do you have over it? Because anger usually comes so quick.
Yeah.
People don't have much control, but to stay angry, we'd have to stay in a story of blame.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm lucky insofar as, because most of my time I spend being positive and friendly and helping people to laugh and whatever. When I get angry, it feels really uncomfortable. That's really nice. Yeah.
It is uncomfortable. Anger, I see anger quite clearly. It's a form of violence, and it's uncomfortable for you, and it's uncomfortable for whoever it's expressed against.
Yeah. And I had a really lovely experience the other day after the sadness about the trees. I was doing my Meals on Wheels deliveries, and normally I'm very sort of bubbly and chatty to people. And anyway, I was feeling pretty flat. And the second lady I delivered my meal to, she had a little puppy that used to come to the door, and we used to have a chat. And she came to the door quite slowly, and I said, well, where's the little puppy? And he passed away. And she started crying. I opened the door and put my arms around her, and I started crying too. And even though it sounds weird, when we sort of cried together for about 2 minutes, it felt really good for both of us. And she said, oh, thank you for that. It really made me feel better. So it was such a beautiful sharing.
Yeah, I agree. Wonderful. Beautiful stuff, mate.
Yeah. Thanks, Vishrant.
You're a lovely man, Glimber.
I try to be. I do let myself down occasionally, but I'm getting better at it. And thanks to you a lot.
My friend.
The next question is from Satya.
Hello, Satya.
Hello, Vishrant. Vishrant, just be witness how it works in a matter of regarding anger.
Just what? Sorry, say that again, Satya.
Just be witness how it works in a matter of regarding anger.
Well, if you've got a witness of the mind, you see how it arises. You see that something gets touched inside of you, something hurts, in other words, and then there's a response to that hurt or a reaction to that hurt, and the reaction is anger. But because you're witnessing it, you have a certain level of detachment from it, and because you have detachment from it, you don't need to get caught in it by supporting it. But if you don't have detachment from it, you probably believe the dream that is supporting anger, and you get caught in it. And you fire it up further. Witnessing the mind is brilliant. It allows you detachment.
But Vishrant, we need to work out like acceptance and all these things regarding anger.
Say that again. I'm sorry, you're booming.
but we need to work out like acceptance and these things regarding anger.
Well, if we were in acceptance, we wouldn't be angry. The fact that we're angry would indicate that we're not in acceptance of whatever's happening, wouldn't it?
Okay.
Because if we were in acceptance, we wouldn't be angry. We're actually, if we're angry, we're in massive resistance to what is. We're not in acceptance of what is.
Thank you, Vishrant.
Nice to talk to you, Satya.
You too, Vishrant.
The next question is from Peter.
Hello, Peter.
Hello, Vishrant. Thank you so much for answering that question about anger. I'm finding my belief systems are slowly starting to kind of domino effect, just kind of falling away, and this it really is making me realize that it's a separation between this idea of me and whatever it is that is coming up or coming into my life that I don't want, and I'm rebelling against. Now, what is still seeming to remain is my care for the people that I love. I don't want anything to happen to them, or I'm worried that something's going to happen to them, and that causes anxiety. Or so I'm wanting to try and let that go, and I know it works under some sort of belief system. Could you help me with this, please?
Yeah. You actually have to accept failure, and that's the one thing you're not doing. And failure in this case would be the failure to protect them and the failure for them to possibly be safe. But as long as you're holding against failure, you're going to have tension. You do your very best to make sure everything is safe for them and they're taken care of. But if you don't have an okayness with the possibility of failure, you're going to hold yourself in tension. And this goes for anything you're involved in, not just taking care of your family, anything. Most people hold against failure and as a result stay in anxiety and tension. Failure is part of life. It can happen. We can't see the future. But while we're holding so strongly against it, we are hurting ourselves.
Okay. So it's just this embracing failure, just being able to embrace failure, whatever way it looks, and just if something bad happens, just embracing that. So just moving into acceptance, as you say, more and more.
Yes. It's a bit like, I don't put money on horses. I don't think racing them is a good idea. But if you're putting money on a horse and you wanted to win and you're okay with loss, it would all be okay if the horse won or lost. But if you're putting money on that horse and you have to win at all costs, well, you're going to go into grief afterwards. You're going to go into a state of tension while you're waiting for it to occur rather than just being okay.
So there's still a part of me that's needing or wanting an outcome to be a certain way, and that is a belief structure in itself. So that when that falls away, then I won't care.
No, you will care, but you're talking about an addictive demand that it goes exactly the way you want it to go, rather than being okay with other possibilities.
Right. Yes. Okay, well, thank you.
Demand is hurting you because it's keeping you in a state of tension, anxiety.
Yeah, and it's work and everything. It's this idea of just not wanting to fail, because if they're hiring you, you want to do the best, and you don't want to let them down, and all of those kind of stories are still belief systems. I can see that.
But
and
you can have those, but you also have to have the okayness with failure.
Right. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I was very fortunate to learn this when I was quite young, And it allowed me to be a successful entrepreneur because I was willing to take risks, because you do as an entrepreneur, and I didn't suffer tension or anxiety because I was willing to win, but I was also willing to fail.
Right. Right. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Peter.
The following question has been written by Brian. I've noticed anger arises because of victim-oriented thinking. I used to get angry because my family gets angry and defensive easily. Now, I just notice the anger and let it pass. Is this openness?
On one level it is, but it doesn't change the anger in that it still comes. If we want to stop anger coming, we have to accept life as it is, accept our family as they are. We can't have belief systems that have expectations attached to them that things should definitely go a certain way or people shouldn't do certain things, because then we can get caught when those things happen and those expectations aren't met. Acceptance is the key to getting rid of anger. Someone who's in a state of acceptance or a state of surrender isn't going to get angry. Have a look at that.
The next question has been written by Lewis. Hi Vish, my 8-year-old little brother has been diagnosed with ASD and can have seemingly uncontrollable outbursts. In what way can I best help him during these outbursts?
First of all, be in acceptance of how he is. Rather than fighting it, accept it, make it okay. And then you're in the right place to truly help him. While you're in non-acceptance, while you're disturbed, now you have two people disturbed. He's disturbed and you're disturbed. That doesn't work. You stay cool by accepting how he is and then facilitating whatever needs to happen from that place of coolness rather than a place of disturbance, uptightness, anxiety. Acceptance, once again, is the key, particularly in dealing with someone who has those sort of problems. You accept what is. My life is one of acceptance because I'm not interested in resisting life. I'm not interested in being disturbed. That doesn't make me ineffective. I'm still very effective, but from a place of openness. And this is what I'm trying to pass on to other people, that we can still be very effective from a place of openness. We don't have to close. We don't have to go to war with the world. We can accept the world as it is and still be effective. Up to you.
The following question has been submitted by a viewer. Your mind is quiet and my mind is chatty. If you passed me on the street, would you be able to read my thoughts?
For your sake, I hope not. Look, I have no interest in reading anyone's thoughts. I have no interest in my own thoughts. Why would I have interest in someone else's thoughts? They're all nuts anyway. I love the serenity of silence and stillness. It's so beautiful. Mm.
The following question. Thoughts are like clouds passing in the sky. would it be helpful to attempt to write them down and track them in a log? Is it even possible?
Heck yeah. The thoughts, they come from who knows where. If you put your awareness on what is real and keep your awareness on what is real, you develop a habit of being present to what is real. You have a habit of being present to your thoughts, so that's your habit. Meditation breaks the habit, because meditation is practicing putting your awareness on what is real instead of what is not real, which is your thoughts. And so in this way, through the practice of meditation, we reclaim reality from the dream that we've been lost in. Meditation is brilliant. I used to watch the breath. That was my favorite. Watching the breath, just watching the breath. And I'd do it sitting and I'd do it walking. I just love to watch the breath. It was because it's always here. It's not somewhere else. It's always with us. And it's real. What we think is not real, but the breath is real. So in keeping our awareness on our breath, on our footfalls when we're walking, we can stay with what's real. I don't think there'd be a need for counsellors and psychologists and psychotherapists in this world if people were just present to what is real instead of present to what they're constantly thinking.
The following question has been written by Marcus. Vishrant, my anger is so mild it's hard to detect in the moment. Without hypnosis or inner child work, how can I experience the intensity of the wound so that I can have the opportunity to accept it?
If it's not bothering you, it's not a problem. There's a wonderful saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's not bothering you, leave it alone. For a lot of people, anger is bothering them because it creates mess. It destroys relationships. It makes you feel bad. It is its own punishment, actually. It's best to just leave things as they are. If nothing's bothering you, stay cool.
Do you see any value in doing anger management in therapy?
Yeah, if you have anger issues, yes, absolutely. Whatever works. I'm very pragmatic. Whatever works is worthy. If anger management courses help you, do them. Whatever works. Living a life where anger is playing a large role in it is not a pleasant life. Do something about it.
Is anger ever a part of tough love?
No, anger has nothing to do with love. As a matter of fact, if someone's angry, it's highly unlikely they're experiencing any love because they're locked in some nasty dream where they're a victim of something. Love appears in openness. Love appears when we're vulnerable. Love doesn't appear when we're massively closed with anger. So there's no such thing as tough love with anger. Tough love refers to, having to bring in consequences for people's behaviour or children's behaviour. And it looks tough because those consequences might be hard. But if we're training our children to become adults, sometimes we need to put consequences in place that are tough. But we can do that without anger. We don't need to put anger into it. The moment we put anger into it, we're throwing violence into the mix. What do you reckon that teaches the kids?
The next question is as follows. Can someone be awake and not perceive love?
I don't think it's possible, but I don't know. Because to wake up, you have to be wide open. Every person that I've ever met who's awake is wide open. And openness is what facilitates the perception of love. And so I would hazard a guess that people who are fully awake perceive love a lot. Openness really does count for everything.
Next question is as follows. How can I stop getting angry if I think it just happens?
By watching it and studying it. I was a very angry young man when I was in my teens, and I had to stop it because it was violent. And so I just watched my mind, watched how the process of anger went, what it did, what it didn't do, how it was formed, how it was continued. And I just started stopping it because it was ridiculous to apply violence to relationships. People make themselves victim of anger. They say, well, I can't help but get angry. Oh, yes, you can. It's up to you. It's up to you. If you are angry, you're doing it. No one's doing it to you. You're responsible for your reactions. Always responsible for your reactions. No one else is.
The following question has been written by Neil. Is there a positive side to anger? I've noticed that anger sometimes motivates me to do certain things. For example, when I'm angry, I can lift more weights in the gym.
Yeah, because you're firing yourself off full of adrenaline, because that's what anger does. When there's a physiological side to anger, adrenaline makes you bigger, better, and more powerful. I do not see a positive side to anger. I see a destructive side of anger. I'm into what's called ahimsa. Ahimsa means non-violence, and I see anger as a form of violence. So I'm definitely not into anger. Even if the anger is not directed at other people, the anger itself hurts you. So there's violence against yourself. I prefer to love everything and love everybody. I undid my mind a long time ago, removed the causes of anger, the belief systems that would have supported it. I just love everybody and everything. That's what I'm trying to show people, a way to love everything and everybody. But as long as you're supporting anger, you're definitely not doing that. Up to you. Thank you for Satsang. Good to see your brave hearts here today.